Welcome to the Immersive Lab podcast, where we delve into the latest trends in creating unforgettable experiences through innovation and entertainment. I'm your host, Dustin Foose, creative director of the Immersive Lab. And today we have an incredibly inspiring guest joining us. Daniel Lewis is an acclaimed author, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, best known for his award-winning tea company, and also being probably one of my favorite people in this world. He is incredible, not only for his on-stage antics, but also in the day-to-day one-on-one. So I am incredibly excited to welcome Daniel to the show. Daniel, welcome.
Favorite human being, Dustin, thank you. You have me blushing early.
It's true, because some of the things that we chat about, from entrepreneurship to experiences to just everything, it's an absolute blast. So I'm excited to have this. And we've talked about this kind of stuff off air. So it's almost like we're sitting in a coffee shop.
You got it. Fireside chat, and I'm totally here for it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. You've built a reputation for your immersive storytelling on stage. Can you share with us how you discovered the power of your storytelling and what inspired you to incorporate it into your on-stage presentations?
Absolutely. First off, I love the word because it's really buzzing nowadays and people are starting to see the power of storytelling, that when we share stories, people connect more, they remember key things about what we say. And so I just love the whole word storytelling. But where I kind of found, that wait a minute, this is actually a thing and people are actually liking this and it's resonating with crowds and audiences. So before becoming a speaker, I was in the music industry. And so with that comes a lot of piecing together stories, writing songs, and then presenting them and performing them on stage. When I transitioned over into the business world now, and specifically speaking, there was this one keynote presentation I was doing at this high school in Montreal. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do something different this time. Let me take or pull from some of the music days and incorporate this like instrumental in the background. So when I talk about the times when I was like this rapper guy and things like that, I'm actually going to do it there on stage and see if that, brings about a different reaction. And it was like, boom, perfect for that audience, for those kids. Instead of me just saying, yeah, I used to be this music artist, I'm like, the slide had the beat, turned it on, boom, and they're like, what's going on? And it was like a full out live presentation. And then I started freestyling about what I was seeing in the audience around the school. And it immediately just, all the faces lit up. They felt like, oh, this is not just this presentation that you do all the time. You're actually telling us a story in real time. And the energy was amazing and it was just exciting. After that, I realized, wait a minute, I got to do more than keynotes. I got to really bring compelling, stories to the stage and make it as immersive as possible.
Absolutely. And one of the nice things with the storytelling features is that you're able to bring that, your historical side, your adventures, where you're going in life, onto stage. And it resonates with all the different environments in a completely different feature. Like, as you said, high schools. Completely different than being on stage in front of 5,000 to 10,000 people in Vegas. Like, everything
Right.
is a different kind of an immersive experience, because you have to play to your crowd. Now, one of the things that we were chatting about was how different the various crowds can be with expectations. High school kids,
Yes.
low expectations, because you're going in and the
Yeah.
person who spoke, 2 weeks before could have come in with a PowerPoint, click, click, click. But when you're going to some of these business adventures and various corporate gigs and such,
Larger
they have
corporate
an expectation that's on a
companies and stuff.
completely different scale. So, and one of the things that we were chatting about was the tech side. How do you bring technology into a forum where people are used to sitting in the dark and listening to the person who's on stage? How have you figured out where those technologies should be used and enhanced versus things that are more of a fad?
Yeah. So it's a great question. And what you really painted out in that question, which is it's such a reality for speakers, is the diverse environments we find ourselves in. One week you're in a high school, the next minute you're in a non-for-profit, the next minute you're in Vegas, with a Fortune 500 company. That's very different. How do you bring stories and integrate that into those audiences? But you said this key word, and it's actually what I play on a lot. They're used to sitting in the dark and watching keynotes. So my thing is, let's light it up. Let's light the place up. And this is something that I started a while back and I've become really known for, is when I get onto a stage, and it doesn't matter where, I'm trying to find what is the one thing that we can all agree on or have access to. And from a technology standpoint, it's a phone. Everybody's got their phone. And so what I've started to do as a way to kind of break the ice, get people immersive, or immersed into, the whole vibe and kind of set the tone, is I start off this question. I'm like, just a quick show of hands. Who has an iPhone in the house, right? And then, of course, all these hands go up. And then I'm like, are there any Android users in here? Then the rest of them put their hands up. And then I kind of make it this thing where I'm like, everybody escort them out, woohoo for iPhone users. So it's a laugh, it's fun, but I find out that everybody has a phone. So once I check that off, I'm like, okay, good. Now I want you to pull out those phones and turn on your flashlights. And I was like, all right, takes 2 seconds to do it. And immediately, Dustin, this dark room is now illuminated with all these lights, and people look around and see what I'm seeing, that we just turned this boring conference room into Woodstock, and it is amazing. And then I start singing a song, get everybody waving. What it does a number of things. Most importantly, it brings everybody together right away, and it lights up the room. So this illumination, wow, my day is brighter. This is about to be a bright presentation. We're happy. That's great. The second thing it does, it gives me a chance to interact, perform. And then third, I even get some really cool content from it when I get to capture it and show the world, like, hey, we lit it up here in London, UK. We lit it up here in Toronto. We lit it up in, Moncton. So it's just a great experience using a small piece of technology.
And you're actually hitting on a topic that we're dealing with right now, which is attention spans.
Yes.
Because people right now are so used to grabbing their phone and having that piece of technology directly in front of them, scrolling, whatever it is. And attention spans, when you're sitting and listening to a keynote speaking engagement or a topic at a conference where people are thinking about the weather, thinking about what they're doing next, thinking about the investment that they put in to be at that experience, traveling away from their family, or if their family came, how much they're spending at, the gift shops and the outlets or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here like, okay, how do I get them to be involved? And that's an example that most people don't realize, that when you have your phone in your pocket, there are folks out there who just think about that. They're like, what am I missing? You hear the buzzes and you're like, oh no, and I see it all the time when I'm, at the barber.
Yeah.
And I know that in my pocket is the phone. And I'm like, oh, I know it's there. I know someone's trying to get in touch with me, and I can't say anything right now because, scissors and such. Yeah. But how are you adapting your presentations to keep your modern audiences engaged? And is there a moment where spontaneity played a key role to bring people back? Because we know it in these environments, you can lose an audience in a split second. But how do you bring them back?
Love that. So there's a few things at play here when it comes to the attention span. So first off, I know we are dealing with very short attention spans, and everybody would just love to check that vibration, that notification to see what's going on. So number one, even besides tech, my job is to be a captivating storyteller, and I have to constantly be navigating the temperature. Have I got into a part of the presentation or of my story that is less engaging, more factual, and am I losing people? That is the skill of being a speaker on stage or performer, that you have to see that. You have to see and if that happens, right, you got to think on your feet. It might be in the right audience. It might be, I want you to stand up for a second and go right into an activity. It might be asking a question, because now everybody's like, oh, I don't know if he's going to pick on me. So and I add a lot of video behind me. So it's not just me talking the whole time. Watch this video. Let's do this awareness test. I'm giving out prizes. And then I call myself, or not I call myself, but I've been called and agree with the human caffeine. So the energy level that I'm bringing to the stage has to be up, right? But that's more just on my performance side of things. But the other thing is, embrace the technology then. Instead of battling against it, which we won't win, right? Because think about it, there's 100 people, or sometimes there's been 1,000 people. I can't control the crowd to not be looking at their phones. But what I can do is say, pull out your phone. Let's make an Instagram live right now, and you're going to be in it. All of a sudden, this that I was battling against becomes my tool, my friend. So I'm trying to find ways, even on the fly, to embrace the technology that's there. And I got to kind of, sing some praises to a fellow colleague speaker. I haven't done this, but I saw her do this, and I was like, that is amazing. Her name is Sarah McVannell. She's Canada's recognition expert. And what she did, and I was sitting in this keynote once, is she, in lieu of recognition, she got the audience to pull out their phones and text message right there on the spot somebody they love, somebody they care about, family, friend, and recognize them for something. So, hey, Dustin, you're always there when I call. You are the best person to make connections in the industry. Just wanted to say thank you. And immediately what started to happen was these responses started popping up throughout the audience. And she's like, who wants to share? She brought everybody in, engaged everybody, and the responses is what really took the show. That's most people, because I texted my wife, right? She's like, what are you doing? Like, everybody's response was kind of like, huh? Like, get a life. Are you drinking? And things like that. And it just became this amazing experience. Still looking for more ways to do that in my keynotes.
Well, one of the things that we've talked a lot about is not just the in-experience mode, but the future of keynote is what do you do before and after. And we're going to be chatting a lot in the future. I'm excited to have more conversations about the business of the keynote speaking industry and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And something that popped up in my head as we were going through a few ideas was, how has the keynote industry changed with the adaptation of live stream and various social platforms? And on your end, I do have to say you are probably one of the best follows on Instagram because of your videos. And I have no idea how you do them. I have been in the room with you.
Yeah.
Well, you have, like, I'm like, I was there. How on earth did he get this shot? And I think at one point in time, I can't remember if it was true, you said you went back to the spot that we were grabbing coffee and you're like, I forgot to get this video.
Yeah.
And I needed to add it in. And I've done it to you as well with a couple of our business partners. And it's funny to see, but how has the keynote speaking industry turned from the 500 people in the room into everyone who is not in the room?
I love that. And that's exactly it. When we talk about, let's use the word inclusivity, including everybody, then it can't just be about the 500 people in the room, right? And so my job now changes from just being a keynote speaker to a digital storyteller. That's what I am. I'm a digital storyteller. My job on the day of a keynote and before the keynote and when I'm having breakfast before the keynote and on the way to the keynote on the train is to tell you that story and catch whatever I can or capture whatever I can in the keynote, if possible. Sometimes it's the light up, sometimes it's, it's whatever, people yelling, singing, whatever. And even after. And so from the morning I wake up, I always turn over in the bed and I say, next adventure and the time. So now people are like, okay, so he woke up at 5:30. Where is he going? Then I drop, is it a plane, train? Am I headed to Toronto? Whatever. So then they start following. These are the people that are not in attendance, but they're following the journey. Then I show them the mode of transportation, any music I might be listening to, food, all of that. When I get to the venue, aside from meeting people and meeting the organizer, I start capturing the venue, the lights, the chandeliers, the stage. This is where our playground's gonna be, everybody. So if you didn't come, first off, this helps the organizer and the event, because the next time some of these people are going to be like, I got to be there, right? It's kind of that promotional angle. But what it does is, for those who are not there, they feel included. They feel like, I'm a part of your journey. I'm not just this speaker who gets shoved into these private rooms by high-paying clients speaking these mysteries. And, you know, if you get to see me, you get to see me. That's not what it is. The message is for everybody, but those that are in attendance, they get the full show. But I try to capture as much as possible, turn it into a reel, and give these bite-sized little experiences to followers, friends, fans. And that's what's kept them with me on this journey. And so, Ian should become a digital storyteller as well and tell that story.
That's the way to do it. There's a lot of business that goes in before and after the business.
Yep.
And that's something where we're gonna chat about, because I know, like, in the future it'll be things like your website, your, you know, how do people get booked? What's the level that goes into that kind of stuff?
Right.
There's a lot, but what I want to do right now is point out, and I love doing this because it's so much fun. I've got something right behind me. I think right there.
Yeah,
right
there
there.
it is.
It's your book.
Who is that guy?
Can you tell me about why the Wise Barista came into your repertoire of your guidance, your stories? How did that come? And why should people go and get it, as I did, and learn from it? And why is there not a second one coming very soon?
Ooh, was that a challenge there at the end?
I'm just saying that one, I already have that one.
Okay. Well, so the story with the Wise Barista is, it all started from a cup of coffee. And what happened was, I believe it was a Saturday, whatever. It was a day that wasn't working. I was going out with a friend. We were going to run some errands. And we're like, okay, let's go grab some coffee. We got coffees. We drove off. And like really quickly, you know, you take that first sip after about 2 minutes. So I took the sip and it was cold. The coffee was cold. And any other day, I feel like most people, and I've asked this in audiences before, like, how many of you would turn back? And most people wouldn't. We just carry on. And this day, Dustin, I'm like, no. The week has been hard. The kids have been hard. Everything has been so challenging. And this is my one opportunity today to enjoy my coffee. Nobody's taking that from me. And so very politely, I asked if we could turn back around and go and get the coffee remade. Politely. I stress that. So we get the coffee remade. I got a nice hot Java and we drove away. But it meant more to me than just getting coffee remade. I started to think, how many times, like, if let's pretend life was coffee, how many times do we just compromise what we would consider a good life and just continue on with a cold life, let's call it, and don't fix it and don't, you know, make sure that we're happy and we're joyful and we're enjoying our coffee, our life. And this book just started to brew in me. There we go. And I just started to think, let's make, what if I wrote a book that kind of metaphor, I was going to make up a word, made coffee this metaphor to represent life. So I will never sacrifice or compromise my coffee again. Anytime I say I'm going to set out to drink a cup of coffee, I'm going to enjoy it. Likewise, I will never compromise my life. I'm going to enjoy my life and do those things that help me to enjoy my life. And from that, I came out with the Wise Barista, which is the 11 secrets to living an enriched life. And to be honest, as a read, spoiler alert, they're very practical things, but they're the things that get shoved under the rug, pushed aside while we go out and do these grandiose things. An easy, actionable way to enjoy your life and never compromise your coffee, then I would say go read that book.
That's the way to do it, and that in it, there's so much more that I know that you're working on, and I'm not going to spoil too much, but we're going to have an absolute blast. So, was there anything else that you wanted to chat about today, or are we going to leave people on a cliffhanger to come back in the future? Because I know there's things that I want to ask you.
Yeah, I'll end off this way. First off, Dustin, you have been just the master of connectors, the master of bringing information to the masses, and I just want to thank you for that. You're like a platform in and of yourself. So hopefully one day there's a social app called Dustin or something like that. There should be. So thank you for what you do. And then secondly, I always like to end off by just leaving my one quote secret that has helped me in all aspects of my life, the good and the bad. And it's the secret to succeeding in business, which is in the first two letters of business. Be you. In all that you do, always make sure that you're not compromising or sacrificing who you are authentically. And that's where real success is, I find. So with that, thanks so much for your time.
That's amazing. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the Immersive Lab. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and insights from industry leaders like Daniel. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the world of immersive experiences.